Hi, everyone. Meeting into order. We're calling adjourn? No, adjourn is when it's over, right? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. All right, calling meeting to order. Thanks. Ground rules, everyone. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have any questions about the board, business, or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait till you are recognized. To raise, this is so far away, Jesus.
I'll read it for you.
Oh, thank you.
To raise your hand through Zoom, click the participants icon and you will find the raise hand function there. If you have technical difficulty, click the chat icon and relay your difficulty to the staff. Members should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized.
Calling the meeting to order. Can we do roll call?
Yes, committee members, when I call your name, please answer present. Stephanie Arroyo,
Here.
Judith Ferraro,
Here.
Malik McCullough, Nilsa Orama,
Here.
Art Perez is excused, Asher Rodriguez is excused, Dawn Sanders, Anne Marie Vasquez,
Here.
Jason Villanueva, present, Michelle Wiltshire Clement,
Present.
you have quorum.
Thank you. So everyone got a copy of the agenda? Is everything good with the agenda? Does anyone have any remarks on the agenda? If not, then we'll adopt the agenda as is. Unfortunately, I do not have minutes for you guys. I will give you minutes September and October by the end of the week because we need these minutes in for our next executive meeting. Next. Okay, so we have an announcement. Union Settlement is hosting a financial literacy workshop series in collaboration with CB11. The workshops will be held at the Corsi Houses, which is located at 307 East 116th Street, in the basement level from 5:30 to 7:30. On October 25th, they will be doing taxes. On November 11th, they will be talking about borrowing money. November 8th, they will be talking about insurance, and November 9th, they will be talking about retirement and investment basic. Admissions is basic, admissions is free. And to attend, you have to RSVP. There is a link that we will be sharing through our email blast, and also you can find it on our webpage, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Any information? There's no informational updates? Okay, so guys, we're gonna be reviewing the district request, the budget request, the district budget request. And make recommendations for any additions, removals, or prioritizing of the request for the executive committee to review tomorrow. You all have a copy. Do you have a copy, Judith? Can you give Judith a copy? Thank you. So we all have a copy. All right, so. Angel, do you want me to try to explain what you had explained to me about the ranking?
I'm happy to do it, so if you could.
And you want me, I'll take a tab on it, and if I'm wrong, you tell me where I'm wrong.
Can I get this? No, we're not start. Just give me a second to get this up. For the. Anyone that might be on. Okay. So what you have before you and on the screen for those participating online is a listing of the budget requests, a draft list of the budget requests in priority order as received by each of the board's committees. On the far right, you will see a number assignment. Starting with the capital budget requests, 1 through this year, we have 31, including a number of new requests, and then followed by the executive budget request 1 through 36. The order of prioritization here reflects each committee's priority designation. Each committee had an opportunity to identify their request as a high, medium, or low priority. So what we did in assembling the list is we took that into account. So what you'll first see is all of the items that were listed high priority, and then their order reflects their priority order from the previous year, which you'll see on the far left. So you'll see that in fiscal year 24, for example, on the first page, the first priority item for capital is listed first, number 2 after that, and so on and so on and so on. So we respected the historical wishes of the board in assembling this draft priority list. So after the high priorities, which you'll see on the first page, on the first and second page, on the third page, you start seeing at number 20 where the median priority recommendations start coming in, as it relates to capital, and then lastly, there are 3 low priority capital requests starting at number 29, and the same logic was applied to the expense budget requests. High priority, reflecting last year, high, medium, low. For the last thing I wanted to mention, for any requests that are noted as new, if there's a new request that was indicated as high, I included them here after the requests that were listed from last year. So initially, all the requests that were already existing from the prior year under high, and then the new ones before we move on to all the requests that are listed medium. And at the end of the medium, you'll find the news for the medium and so forth.
Awesome.
So all committees got their requests in, got their responses in. A little hair pulling on some of the committees, a little more hair pulling on some of the other committees. Some committees, no hair pulling. But we got the job done. The youth committee has some slight wording adjustments to their requests. So all their requests are the same, they're all revisions, but there's like an addition of a word or two. They wanted to add like a floor for a particular building that they want something added to. Unfortunately, due to some personal circumstances, they were not able to get it into me today. However, they still wanted those requests included, so they're just revisions. But the final like word or two will be added in before this list is revised for full board consideration on Tuesday. That's my spiel.
Thank you. And so basically, we're just gonna be putting them in order of priority. Well, no, they're already in order of priority. We're gonna be choosing the priority ranking, right? You
Well,
don't do that either?
if you agree with these rankings, then it's a 2-minute conversation, and if you want to make tweaks, then you can talk about tweaks.
Got it, okay. So yeah, if we wanna change them, we can change them today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you guys had a few minutes to look over them. Are there any that you have questions on, any that you guys wanna talk about?
There is, if I may, in the capital, there's one that both parks and youth asked for funding for work to be done on the playground at Peter Minuet Playground. And it's a great minds thing where they were both already existing requests. But one committee was asking for a playground renovation, and the other committee was asking for a comfort station at that playground. And then this year they both revised, and the one that was asking for playground added comfort station, and the one that previously had comfort station is now asking for playground. So they're essentially asking for the exact same thing. So I just merged them together.
Gotcha, yeah, so it's a good thing they became merged.
Yeah,
Which
it's great that
one?
they're thinking the same.
Which one is, number 13?
Yeah.
Yes, number 13.
And so the request is coming from both committees,
Yeah.
And they're both high priority.
Yeah, they both landed on the same thing and they both indicated high priority.
So since I think maybe we should like just have a little conversation with the housing ones, because housing is a big deal in this district, and I don't believe, if I'm mistaken, Andrew, you can correct me. I don't believe housing got a chance to look over the budget request.
They did.
They did?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, so then.
Yeah, they did it this month.
Oh, so we good. All right, then it's up to you guys, unless you guys have any changes. That's the only one I was worried about that I wanted to have a conversation with, because I didn't know if they had met and like went through their requirements or their priorities and their requests. So everyone did, oh, yes. please.
So, just amending my previous comment. So every committee made their recommendations. I have not made my recommendations. So I have two, budget requests related to community boards. One is, we ask for it every year, but last year we kind of flubbed it and left it last. I'm gonna recommend it, put it up higher, is to increase the baseline budget for community boards. And then secondly, that they baseline funding, for community boards to do their video conferencing, for the meetings, since we're meeting hybrid now. This fiscal year, we were very fortunate to receive a discretionary funding award from Councilmember Ayala, which is gonna help us cover those costs. But that's, year to year, we have to ask for it, and if she's able to do it, not able to do it, and we don't know when. In subsequent years after Councilmember Ayala's term, wraps up, whether the next council member will continue to do the same thing or at the same number. So the idea here is to ask for, monies to be allocated to every community board to cover that cost, because that's now it's a new reality, and we have to, adjust for without an increase in the funding. Right, and the baseline funding for community boards has not budged. For, I want to say 8 years, so we're here, but the expenses keep going up every year, so we get tighter, and now.
Especially in the.
Now we have to pay for video conferencing, and now post-pandemic, we're, meeting spaces are asking us to pay for space. Not all of them, but some of them are, so something that we have to be planning. Budgeting, not buying, budgeting for, to be able to cover those costs, especially since, in order to pull these meetings off, we're needing a lot out of the meeting spaces, right? Not only do they have to be ADA compliant, which is a long time thing, but the HVAC has to be good, which is a long time thing. But we need Wi-Fi, dependable Wi-Fi. We need the screens, we need the projector, we need mics, right? And able to be able to pull off the hybrid meeting, which worked flawlessly in September, which is awesome. But very easily could go astray, and then we're stuck, right? So if we make the promise to the community that we're going to offer them the ability to participate remotely, and then we're not able to pull it off the day of the meeting. That's an eventuality we absolutely want to avoid, so asking for the funding so that we don't have to worry about that.
You said, so there was, that's two funding, right? You said baseline, raise the baseline, and what was the other one?
The money for video conference.
And this is not on our list as of yet,
The video conferencing is not there yet.
but the
Is it
baseline,
The baseline it's not on this, but it was on last year's request.
gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
I'm only looking
On the final list.
Is there an amount that we're asking for the baseline to be raised?
No.
Or just asking for an increase,
Okay.
whatever increase they feel that's smooth saying?
Mhm.
And then is there an amount for the video conference? Gotcha, and the request would be to city council.
To OMB.
So OMB.
Yeah.
You guys wanna deliberate on this? You guys, Michelle?
I wanna know, where would we fit this in here
It
first?
would be, yeah.
It would be, yeah, it would be
A new request.
expense, but where would we? This would be considered a high priority, we want to keep our promise to the community that we will remain hybrid. And so what number would we put it on if we so choose?
Asking me.
got you. So I guess the
I'm
first,
asking-
well, the first conversation should be, how do we feel about this being a request that we add to our budget request?
It's a fact, as treasurer of the board, you need it. Secondary comment. No community board. No statement of district needs. So this document would exist without a request if the board is not here, so, or if the board can't afford it. So my position as far as supporting the board's office as treasurer. Because it should be high priority outside of it, in our survey, I think typically this year, what was it? Was it housing was first? Land preservation, yeah, so I would think outside of the communities, position on the top three items, then that would fall right behind. If you ask, I mean, personally, I would put it as number one, because like I said, no board, no funding of the board, no advocacy for the constituents in the district,
Agreed.
right? Without the exception of, the electeds. That's my, idea.
Yes, Michelle.
I think it's important to keep the promise alive and current, and the only way that we can keep the promise of remaining hybrid, which is what our community expects. And it's better to remain hybrid because more of the community can actually participate in the community board, and we should make it a high priority. My only thing is that I think that we should try to have a percentage, a baseline percentage, and then say anything more is better.
Is that information we can get, Angel? Or is that information that you would have, like, actual amount? Or baseline percentage? So if I'm understanding you correctly, you want us to like indicate how much? Or do you want to indicate like a percentage wise of how much we want?
I would say a percentage is better than saying how much.
Got you. So like we want it, so an example would be like, we want a 10% increase in the
Yeah, that's
baseline.
not gonna happen.
No, of course,
A
but
minimum.
I think that's why it's, and in my experience as previous chair of this committee, it's good to take the initiative, and then the next step is the advocacy and the follow-up. We're not gonna submit the request, and as we know, as being a part of the process, we're not gonna get funded next year, right? So it's gonna be a 4 to 5 year uphill battle, of advocacy.
Hello, y'all.
Good evening. And, that would be that would be my comment, but I'm not opposed to have a specific number from experience or knowledge. I'm open to it, but I think that if we don't, and it doesn't necessarily take away from the request, because again, we're asking the powers that be that we pay our tax dollars to figure out what that increase could logically be. We might ask for something and they give us less, but like as he's stating already, we're using expense budgets from other council members to fund it. And then it's taken away from other board activities that are the interest, like one of the things that are in conversation right now is the street lighting that we always do. Right, that might be an issue this year. So, and it's because we're using costs from other items that we have incurred with when we were remote. We weren't necessarily experiencing that now we're in person as of September, that for lack of a better word, it's unforeseeable costs. So it'd be healthy to to just request the increase and then kind of continue to advocate from that standpoint, unless anyone disagrees.
I feel like we have a consensus on an increase, but I don't know how we feel about there actually being an amount added to it or just asking for an increase. No.
Andrew, I wanted to ask you in terms of the discretionary fund you got from Diana and your sense of the costs involved, like what would you think of a percentage, like?
So percentage wise, I don't know. I know that we got $10,000 from Councilmember Ayala.
Okay,
The live streaming portion of it is gonna be about $500 every month. Then it's the space rental. That's the challenge. So right now, 10,000 for 10 meetings works out to $1,000. So if I'm spending 500 on the live streaming, then I have 500 to play with for the room. If I can get the room for 500, If I can't get it for 500, then I have to kind of rob Peter to pay Paul, and then what I'm considering right now is that we may run into an issue coming into the spring, where that robbing Peter to pay Paul is not gonna work out, and we're not gonna have the money, and we don't have it elsewhere in the budget. So we might have to make tough decisions. So funding wise, like number wise, we wanted to ask for $20,000.
Right, would that would be about what percentage of your budget, like would a 10%, at a minimum of a 10%?
So what I'm suggesting is two different things. So
Okay.
I'm suggesting on the one hand that there be a baseline funding for the board,
Increase.
right? So like the wording on that, I'll just read it from last year's. Is provide funding for baseline increase to the PS and OTPS budgets for community boards to support the vital role they play in planning quality of life advocacy for their communities. Increasing the budget would allow additional staff to be hired and result in an overall increase in the quality of responses and services that the community board provides. So that's on the, just
Right,
how we
that's-
operate
right.
funding. Separate, I'm suggesting that we ask for funding to be able to conduct our hybrid meetings, right? So for the live streaming and movement of costs. So for that, we could ask for $20,000,
Okay.
right? For the other one,
That
I
should be
think we
open.
could keep it to baseline increase, and then just, see what they give us. All the boards in the city have been participating for the last couple of years in this ongoing dialogue with, the district managers across the city, Future of Community Boards
Right.
conversation. So all of us are stuck in the same predicament. So we're all kind of like sharing the same, concern and asking for the same thing, that they increase our baseline. And that, now that we're in this hybrid world, that we also be allocated funding to be able to cover that, right?
Are all allowers the same?
Yeah, we all get the same budget.
Okay.
Yeah, the only difference is rent. So that, which is on a different line, depending on where you are.
So if I'm hearing correctly, like, we wanna do an amount for the video conferencing before the baseline increase, we're just asking for an increase.
An increase.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, does anybody wanna give a motion? Talk to me, Michelle.
I would like to make a motion to have an increase for our general budget.
To add two requests.
and
Two new
then-
requests.
To add two new requests. The first one for an increase for the general budget for the CD11. The second one to increase the budget by 20K for keeping the promise for hybrid capabilities.
Anyone want a second? Wants a second? Can we take a vote?
Sure, Stephanie,
Yes.
Judith,
Yes, but I have a stupid question.
hold that till after the vote. Malik?
Yes.
Nelsa,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes,
motion carries.
Well, my stupid question is if I recall, when Inez was in office, we did get some money from her.
Mhm.
What about the new guy that's there, Yusuf?
He's not in yet.
He's not in yet.
Not
No.
yet?
No, he comes in January, so in January, you should call him up and tell him to give us money.
I don't think that took away from us submitting to his office.
No, we didn't submit to Yusuf's office because he's not in, so he can't.
No.
So we did,
Whatever,
Richard
it
Howard.
takes from numbers, no.
yeah, so we did,
Off the job.
Can we let the DM increase?
we requested from both of our council members, our primary council members, from Councilmember Ayala and Councilmember Richardson Jordan. And we were, thankfully received funding from both. The 10,000 that I mentioned earlier from Councilmember Ayala for the meeting cost and $5,000 from Councilmember Richardson Jordan, I'm sorry, from Councilmember Julie Menon. And those are the funds that we use to pay for our land use consultant. We did not, I'm sorry, just one other, we did not receive funding from this year from Councilmember Richardson Jordan or Councilmember Powers. We did last.
I wanted to know who
Wait.
was,
Raise your hand, sorry. So we can all be on the same page. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
okay. What is the, I guess, rule of thumb Is it like every other year for the council members that they,
But discretionary,
yes,
no, we can request, the council members, take discretionary funding applications. From all organizations, including us, beginning, at the beginning of the calendar year. I think it's like early to mid-February is the deadline, so every year,
you know what I'm saying, what's the rule of thumb that they,
would they give us?
yeah, because
They're-
like if we ask every year, what's the holdup of not giving?
It's up to
I think
them.
that's a,
No, I-
yeah, that,
The
no, I
discretionary
understand.
fund, so it's
yeah,
pretty much up
it's
to the
kind of
council.
up to them, they're getting 1 million requests, and then they make the determination as to which one
And-
they're gonna give to.
And next year, we won't be able to ask Menon, because she won't be a part of us.
Yeah, so we'll be down to Ayala
And Yusuf.
and Yusuf, should he win it over.
Which again, that doesn't take away from the seat, the human being doesn't matter, right? The reality is the council number, whatever that number is, that's who we would submit to it.
Yeah.
And we would continue to advocate, and those of you who are appointed by these council members, you're hearing that they're not far routing as funding. So I would request that you advocate on behalf of the board as well. Right, because it's not just the DM effort, it is our effort as board members. It's something you'll hear me constantly haggle about us as members of the board.
Jason,
the
raise your
DM
hand.
does it.
Okay.
Oh, no, you're right, sir, 100%, out of order. Please raise your head for the acknowledgement.
So we've put in a motion, we're putting in those two new requests. When will we see the language for the two new requests?
I'll have them in before full board, I'll write it tomorrow morning.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, but he's gonna write that down. He's gonna put it in nice, pretty, pretty wording.
And we have a
You're right,
request,
we have the same one from last year that we're gonna use, and then the new one is the video conferencing hybrid capabilities.
Yeah.
But I will give him your language. I did write the hybrid promise. Yes, ma'am.
so we, Jason, so we have the two new requests, I'm moved to put those as on the top of the list of the expense. Or
One and
even
two.
over the housing in the interest, like I said, and advocating for the board, should the board not be able to fund itself, then the board can't do any of this work that you're projecting. Again, that's my opinion, but, I leave that to you as the main member.
Give me 1 second, Michelle. So we're gonna move into like the ranking, right, Angel?
Mhm.
So Jason's thinking, starting the discussion on using these two new requests and adding them to the first ranking, 1 and 2.
Mhm.
And then just slide everything else
And then
down.
slide everything else down. Michelle. I had a question.
I have a suggestion that I think that, I don't know, I just don't feel comfortable having it above housing. And I would just suggest having it under housing, the number 1. Having it as 2 and 3.
So leaving the first one as our first rank and then moving 2 down and putting 2 down and then putting these 2 in there. Which would be 2 and 3. Yes, Mike.
I mean, I hear you, but I like to Jason's point is like, how would we even be able to do the job at task or at hand if we're not capable of having these meetings hybrid? Because even it's like some of us, it could be a little difficult in coming in and for us to actually have these different quorums. As we all know, some committees don't even meet quorum sometimes. I don't disagree that of the importance, but I feel like the operational standpoint, we need to provide for here and then go everywhere else. It's like if you're on the airplane and something happens, they say, what? Put your mask on first
Mhm.
and then help everything else out. I feel like that's what
Great point.
he suggested. Jason suggested it.
Yes, Angel.
So, one thing to consider, that we need to remember is essentially if we're ranking something high priority and the things are like 1 to 10.
It doesn't
They're gonna
matter.
consider it the same way.
Oh,
Like the priority is more, like we had an opportunity, actually, the DCP are pretty good about this year. Pretty helpful, and Xavier, the vice chair, Jessica, and I met with, the folks from DCP, and they put our mind at ease about the prioritization. The prioritization is more for us to communicate, but in terms of them receiving it, if we're listing something high, then they're understanding that that's very important to us. So like, we have like 1 to 12 highs or 15, then they pay more attention to that. They don't ignore the rest of them, but it's communicated to them that this is very, very important to us,
So they're,
to whatever extent. So we're good if it's 1, 2, 3, whatever.
so you're saying we look at the priority, not so much the ranking?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yes, Nelson?
Well, I agree with Jason because I was gonna say it before Jason said it, and the reason I say it is because, the city is undergoing tremendous, fiscal issues. And if we don't advocate for an increase, we've been advocating for an increase for the community board for years. And sometimes we see an increase and sometimes we don't, and I think our staffing as well has been very good about working, with limited salary structure and limited, things, so I don't see it. Every government agency, especially with housing, understands that housing is a priority, it's part of all our plans, it's part. So I don't think it would be an issue, it wouldn't downgrade our request for housing, I agree with, Angel. I know that they just look at. Certain numbers and if they're gonna give you money and for housing, they're gonna give you money no matter whether it's a high priority, low priority. Because ultimately, it's not our priority, it's what the city wants to build based on the needs of what the city. Needs,
And before you talk, Michelle, I just want everyone to understand what Angel said is like, they're not really looking at ranking. They're looking at
Yeah,
priority, so
priority.
if we make this 1 and 2 ranked, but they're still high priority, I think we're in the clear. Michelle, you wanted to say?
Which is what I was basically gonna say.
Awesome. So I think we're moving on to, does someone want a motion making the 2 new requests for the community board to be provided a baseline increase and a increase for video conferencing? Elsa, you're gonna motion that?
Yes.
So we're gonna
but
put-
that
we're
was the
gonna- no,
motion.
we're
I think
motioning-
we're
no,
talking about the
We're
ranking.
motioning to put them on the list and ranking them high priority and proposing them as priority 1 and 2.
Yes, I make a motion, as stated in the prior motion to add to the expense budget. The 2 new requests done for 1, the baseline increase for the budget for Community Board 11. And 2, the video conferencing, addition of $20,000 as well. And I motion that these requests be classified 1 and 2. In the expense budget and that the other has high priority and the other ones get moved down to 2 and following.
Anyone wants a second?
3 and following.
3 and following,
I mean,
yes.
3 and following.
Thank you. Anyone, Jason, your second?
Just a clarification, could, it's up to you, where the baseline, could that be number 1 and the video number 2?
I thought,
I know it doesn't.
no, I thought that's what you said. So definitely on the same page. No, we're on the same page. Great, thank you. So Angel baseline will be number 1, video conference number 2, both high priority. Are we gonna take a roll call? Angel, I'm sorry, Jason.
Sure.
Hold on, Jason.
Oh.
You second. Nilsa put in the motion, Jason second, and we're doing roll call now for that. Yeah,
Yeah, Stephanie,
yes,
Judith,
Yes,
Malik,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes,
motion carried.
thank you. So now that you guys had a chance to look over the ranking. Are you guys good with the ranking, knowing that we're putting baseline first, video conferencing second, and then all others will be moved down to 3? Is everyone okay with that? Does someone have any objections, any? Not your, Malik, anything? Jason?
If there's no comments, Chair, I'm ready to make a motion.
There's no comments,
I don't really have a comment, I wanted to, well, yeah, more so like a ask.
Yeah.
Cause like you said, like, as long as it's high priority, right, and then you said. They high priority was like the top 15 or 12, or which you was,
And
I didn't wanna-
I just mentioned that we noted high priority 1 through 14.
okay,
Yeah.
nothing.
We good? Ready to take that motion?
It's
Jason, what's your motion?
Thanks.
Motion to approve the ranking for both budget, capital and expense items,
Yeah.
submitted by the DM with the modifications as proposed.
But anything that's high priority.
Yeah.
Michelle?
I second it over motion and congratulate all of our communities for getting this all in.
Jason, motion, Michelle, second. Can we take a roll call?
Yes. Stephanie,
Here, yes.
Judith,
I'm here, yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes,
motion carried. Good. All right.
Do we have any old business? Okay, so, our business is the district needs and we did it. Am I right?
our whole business was this.
That's what I'm saying, we did it.
And
We
our
have
new
no-
business was this.
I don't think we have any old business, right? No old business? No new business? All right, roll call so we can adjourn this meeting.
It's the best thing ever.
Stephanie,
Here,
Judith,
Yeah.
Malik,
Here.
Melissa,
Yes. Here.
Anne Marie,
here. I just wanna thank Angel and
Jason.
Jason for making this.
and Michelle.
Present.
I wanna thank Jason and Angel for this.
What's
because
AO?
And Carrie, Carrie, you started this, right?
Late.
Carrie, you started our charter and everything, right?
Who's that?
What's it, Carrie?